guys, welcome back to the Attachment Point News Roundtable. Broker Brett here, with Pete and Joe of Wonderite, who I've actually met in person ahead of time. And this is probably a first, more often than not, the first time talking and meeting is one of these things. So, hey guys, nice to see you post ITC. I think seems like we all recovered okay.
Yeah, I mean, that was quite a ludicrous concert. A good time. So good to see you on video just, I don't know, a week or two later here.
Dude, a lot of fun out at ICC. It was great to meet in person and now to catch up again virtually.
People ahead of time were like, "Oh, it's gonna be crazy! It's gonna be crazy." I had no idea. Just
was that your first one?
Yeah, and I left early. I didn't even realize there was a ludicrous concert at the end, which was very funny. That even not even like it was actually ludicrous having a concert at the end of the conference. It's kind of crazy.
I've been telling all my friends. They're like, "You were out in Vegas?" I was like, "Yeah, it was for an insurance conference," and then ludicrous at the end. And I think there's definitely some jealousy and some excitement. I think everybody's been cooped up. So ITC tends to be, wild, I think in general, just a lot happening. And then you put on top of that, like everyone's been at home for the past year and a half. They're just dying to get out there and network. And I think that's actually, we've talked to a couple of people, they're like, it's like a can of Pringles. Like once you pop, you can't stop. And I think people are like ready to get out and network some more. So I think that's probably just the beginning.
It was cool. And yeah, it's funny that I was just think of the ludicrous line like diamonds in your mouth, diamonds in your house or whatever, but so funny. No, it was awesome meeting you guys. It was so cool, meet a bunch of founders, other people where the relationships had started here. And, it's really fun to talk Wonderite today. And it's cool. Actually, I haven't seen your platform already and been in there. I was really impressed. My 10,000 foot kind of summary was, as an agent, we're in these different insurtech platforms, these commercial platforms, and they're helpful. They pump this data to us, but usually it's here or here or here. It's really cool how you guys are bringing that data across the board and making it ubiquitous for like the small business insurance agent, because we hear all day long, small business commercials too hard to sell, it's too much work. But yeah, why don't we let the people know what you're up to? And I think the tool is looking great.
Yeah, thanks. No, I think high level, my background was I was an insurance agent for 7 years at a family insurance agency. And I knew that I was working really hard to win relationships. And then immediately after winning a relationship, winning a deal, we jump into like mountains of paperwork. And you can imagine people are about as excited to fill out paperwork as they are to do your tax return every year. And so it wasn't really a great touch point in the beginning, when you won the deal. And in some cases, maybe you lost the deal because you weren't fast enough or it wasn't as intuitive enough. And so I thought there had to be an easier way to fill out all the paperwork, the insurance applications, the supplementals, the accord forms, the follow-up underwriting questions, in addition to schedules of vehicles and drivers and properties. And just knew that, hey, look, when I go on Google today, if I type in my address, it pulls in a bunch of data points. Like, why can't insurance software do the same thing and just make the whole insurance application process easier? I met Joe on the first day of business school here in Boston. And I think, sharing the early prototypes for Wonderite with him kind of resonated based on his background.
Yeah, I think, from my perspective, kind of came from the other side, running a family business with my father for 60 years. Great relationship with an independent agent, worked kind of through the application renewal process every year. As kind of like the next generation in the company, I always knew that there had to be a better way, specifically on the insurance side, to work with our insurance agent to fill out the paperwork, to send back and forth the information that they needed. And so I was definitely excited when Peter was showing me early mockups of the software. I think talking to, insurance agency after insurance agency while we were in business school, one of my biggest learnings kind of about the industry and about the insurance agency space wasn't so much the lack of technology. It's just kind of how many different disparate tools that agencies have and are using. I think to your point earlier, the data that agencies are going after, it's in a bunch of different places. And so it just kind of made intuitive sense that, how do we bring that all together? How do we streamline that? And I think that's going to be one of our core focuses.
Yeah, it's fun. One of my main projects is Fineo, and we're kind of collapsing all those tools in one place. Same thing, like you said, for my own agency, there's 40 bookmark tabs, passwords, everything else. Like, I appreciate anybody who wants to pull this together. The next generation's not going to want to work that way. So I saw it kind of.
If it's only 40 passwords, you consider yourself lucky. I feel like I had 500 when I was an agent. I mean, literally, a lot of passwords. It's a headache.
No, it's insane. And my book of business is small. Like, I love touching actual insurance paperwork. It helps me out. Like, I want to build my own agency, eventually have that pay the bills, but it helps me in all these conversations too. So I saw two on LinkedIn, at least, kind of looked around ahead of time. So you guys are out of Boston. Saw the team's about 16 people right now. done a lot with not a, yeah, I mean, that's a good little SEAL team right there. Seems like you guys have made a lot of noise already. Yeah.
Yeah. I think like we were talking about earlier, I think the key is, I don't know, key is to like work hard, make it look easy. Maybe we're definitely working a lot. I think this week I've been getting up at 6 every day, go to bed around 11 or 12 o'clock at night. I have young girls at home, 2 young girls, and it's tough to get the balance right, but that's a core company value. We want to have balance. So I think like we all come to work refreshed, ready to work, and like work really hard. And I think that more than anything, it just speaks to the need in this space. I mean, we're working really hard to get this thing to market and to build the best possible software for insurance agencies. I just think there's a lot of opportunity in the space.
So you guys are up late because of the Red Sox too. I mean, it's October 20th. They'll probably post about 2 weeks, but you got playoff baseball right now. So I think that's the other reason up a little later.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It was a tough loss last night. Ninth, I think it was 7 runs they gave up, but optimistic about where they are in the series. So,
there you go. Yeah, you always got to be an optimist, especially in our, small business startup insurance game,
I don't think anybody's going to have sympathy for us now that you mentioned the Boston Sporting team. I mean, I don't think anyone's going to feel bad.
You need a good villain too. You need somebody to root against. That's funny. And then Pete, so before we, fired up the YouTube, you had mentioned sales and cold calling. So now you're founder, CEO, but coming into it with that sort of, skill set, like sales is huge. When you're a CEO, when you're co-founder, you guys are building, selling every day, I would imagine.
Yeah, no, it's, I'm kind of glad you mentioned it. It's, we're interviewing different entry-level salespeople that would be, making cold calls, sending emails, or LinkedIn messages. And it's a grind. It's a lot of work. I think some people want to kind of skip over that part of their career where they're like, I don't want to do that. Like, it's for somebody else to figure out. And it's like, yeah, but like, if you can do it, if you can make a lot of cold calls in the early parts of your career and like learn what it means to be out there and selling, learn what rejection feels like. Like, believe me, we've gotten a lot of rejection, since the beginning, whether it's from, venture capital firms or accelerators or whatever. Like, rejection is out there, but we just kind of keep focused on what is it that we're doing. We know that what we're doing is right. I had a coach of mine once said, if you had the cure for cancer, like, would you stop selling it? And so I believe we have the cure for like, paperwork cancer at insurance agencies, and we're heads down working hard to build it. And yeah, certainly having made personally thousands of cold calls myself was definitely a good training grounds for that. And it builds, I think, a lot of respect for my team and for our team who's out there doing these things. And at the same time, like I also built software, and so built the first version of Wonderite. I know what it's like to sell insurance. I know what it's like to be making calls. I also know what it's like to like build software all day. And so I think it wins you some rapport with your team, but they're definitely better at it than I am, both in the sales and software side.
Yeah, and I think it's cool. I still make cold calls for Fineo right now, try to help out. Yeah, I think it's cool to go bottom to top. I'll do some partnership conversations and some initial calls, and kind of sorting through those initial calls and the pushback kind of helps you in the other end.
Well, hey,
too.
now you have to do a cold call. Now you got to call me, because I know now that you mentioned you still do cold calls. Let's hear it, man.
I'll call Joe. I'll be like, hi, my name is Brett. Call Fineo. We're a life insurance marketplace. Helping agents consolidate, their work into one workspace. How are you today?
Yeah. I'm doing fantastic, Brett. How you doing?
Doing good. But yeah, just calling licensed agents in California. Just thought, see if there'd be a good time to chat about, your sales process in that arena. Because, you're cold calling to set the appointment. You're not trying to sell, you're trying to set it up for a later date.
That's right. The only purpose of the call is get the appointment in the book.
Can't one call close.
What did you always say, Peter? Yeah, the goal of the call is...
The purpose of the call is to keep the purpose of the call. The purpose of the call. That was Steve Kloida. He was a legendary cold calling coach who's actually referred to me by Bruce Denson from Cobbs Allen Hall, big agency down in Alabama. So Steve was great. I listened to a lot of his stuff. He definitely was one of my, coaches, I guess, in the early days through his prospecting toolkit or whatever he called it.
Well, we're on this tangent. I'll throw one last thing out. My thought is always like, do they want to go fast or slow? You're kind of hearing for that intonation right away and sort of match the energy a little bit. But it's fun. How about you, Joe? So when you're working with family business, more ops, finance, you do a little bit of sales yourself, or?
Yeah, I mean, I think, when you're at a family business, ours being on the smaller side, there's 2 locations, 25 employees. I think what's great is you get an opportunity to wear every hat. So finance, accounting, I studied finance. So that's kind of what I went into initially, but, quickly get into, every part of the business from sales, marketing. As a young guy with a lot of ideas, quickly became like the de facto head of IT, where I was implementing a lot of different tech tools, did a 1-year ERP conversion, which after talking to a lot of agencies is akin to, I think, switching agency management systems. So leading that. And so it was great. Get a lot of exposure to every part of running a business, which is definitely helpful now, as we're running a scrappy startup and wearing a lot of different hats. It's super important to kind of know the basics of each different function.
Yeah, absolutely. And, Fineos raise some money. We're about 22 people, I think, right now. And I'm the ambassador for US, which is kind of like you're just going to wear every hat, fill the gaps. It's fun. I grew up around small businesses too. But what industry, what vertical was it in too, Joe? So I'm just curious.
We were in the construction space. We were a
cool.
wholesale distributor of building materials. So in the same sense, like independent agent represents a number of different, carriers. Our family business represented a number of different vendors that sold construction materials. So it's a great opportunity. And actually my intention for going to business school was to go back to the family business. And I think I was so excited about the opportunity meeting Peter, that by the time we graduated in 2019, knew that this is something that I had to pursue full time. The family was very supportive, but actually the initial idea was to go back to the family business. But I don't know, what Wonderite kind of stole me from the get-go.
Yeah, and insurance kind of broke me out too. Grew up around the moving company, and then it's kind of interesting. Sometimes like it's such a happy accident, like industry and vertical to kind of find yourself in. But did you grow up at Peter? Was it a family agency you were at?
Yeah, so
that's cool.
I think pretty similar to Joe. We were two locations, 20 employees, insurance agency, and I loved working with my dad and the team there. And I learned a lot. It taught me the ropes, from cold calling to lobbying in DC with a big I to earning all my licenses and designations. In fact, I just filed for my CIC extension because I still got to do my CIC update this year. It was great. And, like Joe, I think also was excited about the opportunity to work at my family insurance agency. And I kind of had to, divorce my dad and divorce my sister in some ways, who are my business partners. And that was tough. I mean, I think my dad was excited for me, excited about, would love to obviously work together, but also knew that he knew that I had, passion for building technology and getting this out. And he encouraged me to go do that. And so he's an early user of our software, big supporter. In fact, I was working out of their insurance agency last week, and it's just always great to be very close to the heartbeat of insurance. I can't tell you, the number of startups that I've spoken with who are dipping their toe in the insurtech space. And, you talk about something like a loss ratio or an experience mod, and they start being like, wait, what's that? And it's like, it's a big industry. It's a complex industry. And I think one of the advantages that we bring is whether it's me or a number of our team members who come from an insurance background or an insurance technology background or a family business background, who's, used the product firsthand, it manifests itself in the way that we build the software and make the software like very insurance agency and very customer focused.
Yeah, to your point, I mean, it's super interesting. With the broker Brett stuff, I'll get random people reaching out who are just incredibly smart, incredibly achieved, who are like curious about the space and kind of, you almost have to teach them our like vernacular and how the world works,
Absolutely.
Yeah, I feel lucky. And, Tony Kanye, I always give credit to Abel Travis, but he talks about being insurtech. You need insurance and you need tech. You need both of them to survive and do well, because sometimes I feel bad, but sometimes the truly insurance folks, I see them try to do tech and it gets a little scary. And then when the tech comes in to solve problems, they don't really understand, that can be a little bit of a dice roll too. Joe,
Absolutely.
So was insurance something like, I don't want to say forefront, but were you aware of it like for running the company, or was it just kind of a bill that got paid on the side? I don't know kind of when insurance popped on your radar.
I think like most, small business or any business for that matter, I think insurance, you want to make sure that you have adequate coverage. I don't think it's something that you're thinking about every day. I think, our focus was very much on running the business. And there's certain, aspects and costs that we know we're going to incur, but aren't top of mind. I think, again, our goal is, to work with the right team, work with the right vendor. And in our case, we had worked with a great independent agent for a long time, had a great relationship, and kind of defer to him to help us make the right decisions. I think it can definitely be an expensive line item. And so, Not that cost is always most important, but want to make sure that's something that we're thinking about. And so I think more from a business perspective is, do we have the right coverage and are we paying the right price? And that's kind of how I thought about it. Not necessarily the right way to think about it, but from my perspective, kind of running the business, that's where it came in.
That's normal. My best friend's family is like a 200-person machine shop. I always reference it, but he's like, is this the least amount I can pay? Will I be covered if I need something? That's as much as he wants to think about it. And I can never steal that account because their guy, would bring him sandwiches, once a month. So apparently the carbs are good business blockers. It's hard to get past the carbs.
So if I was making a cold call, I would have been like, hey, I know that this guy delivers sandwiches every month. Is that like a decision criteria for like your risk management?
Right. How much
but it's true. Like the relationship is so key. It's so key. And I think, I even chatted with Joe early on. He onboarded to insurance very quickly. In fact, his first internship, he always likes to say, was at Liberty Mutual in corporate accounting. So I think he's pretty sharp in the space. He's always got a good gut check on like, hey, like agents don't care about this, or customers don't care about this. Like, I know that you can geek out on whatever the lexicon terminology is from insurance. And it's just like, hey, reminder, like maybe you think about that as an agent, but like that was never really on my radar. And so it's kind of a good gut check. And again, that kind of lends itself into the way that we think about building software.
Yeah, I like having that from like a frontline sales standpoint when I'm talking or dinking around the insurtech stuff. Like, how much does the customer really care? Like, kind of put yourself in their shoes, their kind of mind's eye. Like, they want it to be simple. They want it to be a background. They want it to feel like they're on Amazon or something.
Right.
It's kind of where the clients are at today.
Don't get me wrong. Like the software does a lot of I have a certified risk manager designation. I have my CPCU. Like a lot of that stuff is kind of built into the background. I think that by creating great, beautiful software, it can make some of these things a little bit easier and more clear to your customers and help you better upsell, cross-sell, get the appropriate coverage. Because I think that when customers do understand that, they're more likely to make those purchases.
Right. And simplicity is hard, like you have to work really hard to make things clean, and like I wouldn't underappreciate a clean interface with, something I wouldn't say necessarily makes it simple. So for today, my perception, my thoughts on Wonderite is give me all the tools, grab the data, set up clients. Do you have any projections in like a couple of years? Like, do you see the industry? Do you still see being ahead of the pack? Do you think people are catching up? Are you hoping to plug in with people? 3 years from now, what are you guys hoping the kind of small business commercial space looks like? How are you hoping to not to give away the roadmap too much, but is there anything you'd like to see coming out?
No, look, I think that, we're a team of, I think 17 people, and that sounds like a lot, but in software, that's like a really small team. And so in order to build great software, you have to be really focused on doing like this one thing and doing it well. It's easy to write a lot of software. It's hard to write very simple software, to your point. Like that's really hard. And so in order for us to be successful, we have to be very focused internally about what we're doing to do it really well. There's a million things I think we'd love to build. And I think that the key to building the bigger picture opportunity is to focus on executing what is immediately in front of us and what we can solve really well. So when people think about filling out a supplemental or an accord or a vehicle schedule to create a top of stack submission for every account, it's like, we want you to think about Wonderite for that. If we can master that, that will allow us to grow. It'll allow us to be building like more things that we see, in our product roadmap. As far as like, what is the ecosystem going to look like? I think there's a lot of ways to make money in insurance. There's a lot of ways to lose money. And I think for us, we're just very focused on what we know to be true and building that, and then listening to our customers and our early supporters as far as how we can make their lives easier and better.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. And it's, it's funny. We have our kind of insurance ease, top of stack, like full supplementals. I'm sure Joe had some clients that just would have like the goofiest work orders, recall leave, like incongruent voicemails versus somebody who would send over a spreadsheet exactly what they needed, when and where. And it's communication. It's making life easier. Yeah.
Exactly. No, I think that's our core focus. I think there's a lot of opportunity in this space. I think our core focus is how do we make that experience from agent to customer as easy, as streamlined, as great as we can. I think there's a lot of opportunities and that we see in the future, be it with data and data vendors and plugging things in to what we have. But I think uber focused on just building that platform for agents to collaborate with their customers.
I was just looking over my shoulder because I think I have like 4 different things I need to work on that all need supplementals right now. And I'm just dragging like, when am I going to throw that in the PDF editor? When am I going to send that over? Like, are they going to get it back? You know, which ones of these are actually going to finish?
You should use Wonderite.
Yeah, no, I need to.
We literally have agents who tell us, they're like, I'm walking away from good business right now because I don't want to fill this form out. And they're like, maybe I'd make money on it, maybe I wouldn't. It's kind of one of these marginal accounts. So I'm not going to put the time in before Wonderite. Now that I have Wonderite, I can literally just take that PDF. It's already digitized, click a button, send it to the customer or prospect. If the prospect goes through the effort of filling it out, which they do, on average, they sign on within 60 minutes. We had one just the other day, filled out a 15-page, supplemental app. The customer did in one evening, and sent it back to the agent. The agent walked back in the office the next morning, and he's like, I've never had this experience before of like sending a customer something in the evening and it gets done immediately. So I think that's like where some of the opportunity is like, how do you remove the friction from that process? No one likes doing paperwork, I think, especially not producers. And so can you make it easier for them and for their customers? Remove the friction, and I think you'll see success and growth.
I'll have to hop back in with our buddy Justin, go get in there again, kick the tires, get it out there. But yeah, guys, no, I think, it's the whole, what is it, like a candy versus like a painkiller. I think you're going after like a great painkiller in the industry. Like, supplementals are, 4-letter word to most agents. They just, it is what it is. Like, we don't enjoy it. It's, it's sort of like dealing with, premium financing. There's just these ugly, goofy, clunky things that could be better, and appreciate you guys trying to tackle like a big domino in that one. So
yeah.
Well, good stuff, guys. No, thanks for coming on today, kind of breaking down what you're up to. We'll look forward to doing this again, before too long, and hearing about the progress. And
sure.
Thanks for tuning in, guys. Definitely check out Wonderite.
Yeah, thank you. This was a great time.
For sure.
Great to meet again on a Zoom call and have had the opportunity to meet in person just a week or two ago in Vegas.
Heck yeah, no, that was awesome, man. Looking forward to the next round, and I'll make sure to show up to ITC early and stay late next time.
Yeah, who knows if it's gonna be ludicrous next time, but we got to figure out who's gonna be the next headliner.
Right, and then Shaq bouncing around. Who would have thought? Like, that's such a funny conference, and it was just so cool. Like, my buddy, I don't know, it was just fun hanging out with like the insurance major, like Heath, and then the glove box guys didn't disappoint. I knew they'd be fun to hang out with
the spacesuit and everything.
Yeah, exactly. Coterie guys. I had the good accent, and this will be the after. We'll keep it recorded, but it was very funny telling people where my booth was, on LinkedIn, and then I kept getting messages on like Instagram. Every time it felt like I was gone, somebody would be messaging me, "Where are you at?" Just like, sorry, I had to go get a meeting, do a demo. So that was pretty fun.
Absolutely.
There's a big Canadian guy who sold his brokerage, really cool guy named Dinesh. It was really funny. Felt like I got busted. He messaged me and the founder of Finay, like, where's your boy at? Where's Brett at? At your booth. So that was pretty good. So, but no, I appreciate it, guys. We'll keep making noise, and we'll catch you again soon.
Sounds good.
Hey, thanks.